Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everybody around the world. Welcome back to another One Piece video featuring your girl, Charlotte Pudding. Get ready for a very spicy deck profile featuring OP08 here on the channel, which I am very excited to bring to everybody, let alone to showcase a leader in which I think I have the most fun with in OP08 and going into the future of One Piece. Now, of course, your boy can't wait until OP10 when we go back in the Dressrosa. So hopefully Doflamingo can get some more green colors along with another splash. That'd be awesome. And with Yamato stuff. But for the time being, Pudding is definitely up there with one of my favorite leaders to play in the game. And I'm sure you guys have seen familiar lists when it comes to Pudding. They generally look something like this, which is like once you've seen this list, you've seen them all. Well, today, I'm going to show you guys a very spicy Pudding deck that is pretty different and very fun, especially when you can slap down 2 Katakuris in the same turn, which is kind of ridiculous. So, let me go ahead and this is going to be like one of the staple Pudding decks, give or take. I'm going to show you a very spicy list I'm having a lot of fun with, and I do hope you guys give it a shot. Are you ready? So the name of the game is, like I said, we're slapping down multiple Katakuris. Now, if you've been playing Pudding thus far, you've realized that going first is a little bit more beneficial towards you. So, most of the time, your opponent, when they win the die roll, they're probably going to take that away from you, which is cool. Going second is not too bad. You can still ramp up, but it's kind of like an odd curve of getting your Big Mom, sometimes. So, what we're doing today, if you win the dice roll, let's just say you win the dice roll, the game goes normal, right? You swing with Pudding. You play either Pudding down for a search, you swing 7 with this. If not, you swing 5, you drop a Pawseplays, you're chilling. The next turn your opponent hits you, you drop a Katakuri, and now you're up to 8 Dawn. On the following turn, you're up to 10 Dawn. That way you can drop Big Mom. It's plain and simple. Like, it's really not that hard. Now, some lists will run Mr. 2 Bond Clay, which is okay, right? Some lists will run Miss Sunday, which again is okay. I don't feel like you need these. I feel like it's a little bit overkill. You really just need to have Katakuri and Opener. And if you don't have Katakuri and Opener, you need to search it out with Charlotte Pudding. And your opponent has to hit you one time. If they decide not to hit you, you gotta have a Flampe. So if you assume your opponent's going to be smart and they decide not to hit you, that way you can slow down your ramp speed. You drop the Flampe, you take the first top card that's already been overturned, and then you play down the Charlotte Katakuri here to ramp up, and you're good to go. But at the end of the day, this deck is going to be very fast. It's going to be pretty explosive, allowing you to get to Big Mom very fast. Now, one of the things that I've realized with this list here is I need blockers. So we are going to be running Viola. I think this card is going to be a staple here in all Charlotte Pudding builds going forward, just for what it allows you to do into those matchups. The ideal ones into Katakuri, into Enel, allowing you to just rearrange their life. You know, that's very good for you. It also allows you to turn your cards face down if your opponent is not going to attack you, which is fine. But being able to just see what your opponent has in life and then rearrange it and playing out accordingly is really good here. And then we're going to be running with Brulees. Often not, this comes off of life. I know it's crazy, we only run 4 of them, but we can't run anymore. If I could, I would. Now, this always comes off life for me. It always keeps me prepared. I have tried lists with your good old Soul Pocus, because it's not a yellow deck if Pawseplays doesn't have this card. I get you. But I've tried putting variations with it. I can't get it to work. The cool thing about this is when it's in life and I attack with Pudding and it flips it up, right? Awesome. Your opponent knows now they have to either make a choice next turn when they hit you. Cool. Great. The downside to this is there are occasions where, like when I'm playing Katakuri, for example, and we go into our, let's say we lose the dice roll. We go into the 8 Dawn turn, right? You have an option of dropping the 7 Mom, or sorry, you go into the 7 Dawn turn, and you go first. You have an option of dropping the 7 cost Lin Lin, and swinging 5, right? The following turn, you go up to 9. That way you can actually do 7 cost Lin Lin, swing, Katakuri, and a Soul Pocus if you choose to. But in this list, it's very hard to play Soul Pocus out of hand. because you ramp so fast, it's more valuable just to drop down big moms, drop down Katakuris and 9-cost moms, 7 moms, opposed to playing this. This is only great in this list, in my opinion, right now, in life, and that's it. The only way to put it in life is if it's there or you drop the Hiyori. So I decided not to run it because often I'm not playing it from hand, and I don't have a lot of cards in hand that want me to trash something to play it on board. So for example, normally I'd run something like Sanji and the Pawseplays, any other trigger that yellow has that allows you to trash play. But we are playing a pudding deck, not a Katakuri list, so Soul Focus gets less value because it clogs up my hand more here. So we opted not to do that, and instead we are going to be filling that slot up with Hiyori, just because I want to be able to plant my 0 cost in life if I need to. Now, the reason why this works, okay, there are turns where you go into your 10 Dawn and you're on 1 life, okay? Your opponent's going to automatically assume you're going to drop Big Mom, heal up 1, and now you're at 1 life. Cool. Or now you're at 2. So, what you can do, you can play down a Hiyori, you can take the life, put the 0 cost event there, and then, if you're lucky enough, and this happens quite often, I do have to adjust my ratios here, but hear me out. If you have Katakuri on board, let's say you're setting up for this turn, you have Katakuri on board, and we're talking about this guy. The following turn, you can go ahead and do your attacks real quick, do his ability, you trash him, play down a Katakuri for free off of this effect. Because as long as your opponent has 8 Dawn, equal Dawn or greater to you, you can play a Katakuri of 3 cost or greater on board. So in other words, you can cheat this out, play Katakuri down, kick Hiyori back to life or Brûlé back to life, then you still have 8 Dawn to play around with. You can drop down another Katakuri and heal yourself again. That's 2 heals, 2 big bodies for 8 Dawn, which is kind of nutty when you think about it. Also, this works out in tandem when you're playing against green, right? Because we are able to remove the Eustace Kid, because sometimes that's an issue. So you have Katakuri to be able to do that, and you can slap down 2 at the same turn. So you can have one for offensive and defensive plays. That's going to be more like an ideal scenario, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be more coordinated. You have to actually plan that out when you're playing against a green deck if you have to remove the Eustace Kid, but situational, you know? But it does work. You can't get it off often. I do think I'm going to have to adjust my ratios here, and I'm thinking about cutting some cards to do so. I'm thinking about going down at least to 2 Hiyoris, perhaps. Because I feel like Hiyori does one of 2 things here. She allows me to plant Brûlé in life, Pawseplays, or 0 cost. Mostly it's 0 cost, so I might be able to cut this down to 2 Hiyoris and up the cost on my Katakuris here, but there's going to be more playtesting when it comes to that. Either way, this build is very, very fun. Just to be able to cheat out 8 cost Katakuri, heal yourself, have a body on board is very, very strong, and it's a big tempo play in your favor. The other good thing about this is if you go second, and let's say you're playing against a pudding in the mirror match, this is where this also matters. If your opponent is playing pudding and she goes first, she has more Dawn than you, generally speaking. If you have this on board, she can't kill it unless she pops it. And most of the time, we're not running with cards that allow us to do that. There are going to be some decks that are going to be running Sovereignty. There are going to be some decks that you run into that are going to be running Sheep Horn to be able to rest things. I haven't seen decks that are running Brachio Bomber, but it's a possibility. Most of the time this will be on board and it's stuck on board. And if that's the case, if pudding goes first, you have the opportunity of doing this ability to get your ramp off on Katakuri, to get this on board for free. And then potentially, you can swing in with pudding, play down another one, and then boom, you're caught up, you're ahead, you're good to go. But overall, let's dive into a bunch of games today and see what we can do. I'll see you guys in a split second. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to dive into a bunch of games today. Coming at you guys with Charlotte Pudding, playing into Red Blue Marco. This is going to be another deck in which I think is pretty good, actually, in the current format. I think he has a chance of doing something in the current metagame. Not much. He's not going to be a tier 1, tier 2 deck right now, but when those structure decks come out, I think he'll be a force to reckon with. But there is a card in this list that he can play right now, which is the 10 cost Newgate that he got in OP08. Pretty strong. It's pretty strong. To be able to tax all your opponent's characters, make them discard 2 cards from hand, allows him to sustain himself into the late game. But other than that, I think Marco's going to need some assistance here with the structure deck to make this deck pretty spooky. But in any case, we got a perfect hand here, which happens often with Pudding. The only scenarios where I wish could be better, and I've only had this happen on Sim, because you know when you guys are sitting in there, you're geared to play locals, you're power shuffling, give or take, right? Some people do, some people don't, but with your power shuffling, you're not going to find, ideally, like 3-0 cost events in your opening hand. You know what I mean? On Sim, I happen to get a lot of hands in which I get something like a 2 veggies, a 0 cost event, or like 2 0 cost events and a veggie and another trigger, which feels really bad, but what am I going to do? Outside of that, most of the hands here in this deck are typically pretty good. You really just need to find yourself a Pudding in the opener or a Katakuri. And that's about it. We did slap in Pawseplays, in which I would highly recommend you guys give it a shot, because this allows you to fish out your Katakuris and or Big Moms if you need them. But a lot of times, I'll tell you what, a lot of times decks are scared to attack in the Pawseplays. At least right now in OP08, because they don't want to give you the 10 Mom. Because they know how fast we ramp up here. And it's just like, I'm sure Marco could minus 2k, run into it. I'd give it to him for free. It's fine. It's cool. He had the opportunity to do that. You know what I mean? And being able to get that 10 cost Mom into another 10 cost Mom is kind of spooky. Ooh, this isn't too bad. But we already have a Katakuri coming off life here. I don't mind taking another one here. I'm not really in any danger. If we can find a smaller Katakuri, we might be chilling here. Let's just go 5 lead. Ramp up again. Okay. Now we're good. Drop another blocker down. We've seen 12 cards now with Pudding. And then we flomped into 14. So, which is pretty good so far. We have to remove the Dofi, unfortunately. The smaller blockers, or blockers in general, can be a problem for Pudding. But being able to slap down a lot of big bodies typically can run you over. The only deck in which I found that can be an issue is Bonnie sometimes. But usually, I can play around it. The matches are just like super grindy. I think we had a match earlier today. It was 23 minutes with Jewelry Bonnie. I think it favors Pudding, but what are you gonna do? Let's go 12 here. Not 12-5, my bad. I'm already ahead of myself. Cool. Let's search. I was looking for the little Katakuri there, but taking another 10 cost mob isn't too bad. I wanted to set up for the future plays, but this will work out. We can heal 1, get an 8 drop on board, and then next turn we can drop Big Mom if need be. I'm not in a hurry to try to, I guess, deal damage here. Marco is going to play some shenanigans with Newgates and or the Sanjis here, which is okay, because that's his whole turn. And now I have to be mindful of how we do this, because if he decides to attack me, we trigger the Brûlée, he just rests the Newgate to pop the Brûlée. You know what I mean? Then I can't kick it back to life the following turn. We go 7 here. He's going to rest that. Let's counter out of this one. And then maybe he'll rest it to kill like a Pudding or something. There's no way we're going to attack into the Newgate next turn, but that's just something now we have to pay attention to. He's going to try to pop our blockers. I think that card's pretty disgusting, honestly. I think it's really, really good. And this is Marco running some of the structure deck cards, so. Yep. It's probably Flampe, right? No, okay. Pudding. Cool. There's a Katakuri. It's not going to do its value, though, unfortunately, because Newgate's on board. And that's the downside. Normally, I would just slap it down and let it chill, but Marco has a lot of removal with, like, Seaquake, Fire Fist, Newgate. It's probably not going to happen, ideally. We'll go 8 here first. We'll get the blocker out, cool. Drop the Mom, burn the life, heal up. There's a Seaquake, speaking of which. I think next turn we have the game here. This might be a Newgate turn for him. He does have... Okay, never mind. Goes with the 7k with the Newgate. I think this deck is going to be pretty spooky once the structure stuff comes out. Especially in our format, but we'll see. I can't really counter this, so he's got it. We have a lot of no counter cards in hand right now, which is sometimes happens with Pudding. Another Katakuri. We have the Mom anyway, just to burn the life, because he has no blockers on board. You got this, right? Oh, okay. Alright. Let's keep them coming, boys and girls. Rapid fire. Playing into Enel this time as Pudding, in which you would think this is still an easy matchup. You still gotta play around it, and it's not fun. It's just not fun. But we're gonna try our best. We are playing against Enel here today, unfortunately. Everyone's favorite leader in the format and in the game in general. Sarcasm at its finest, but it is what it is. We got a pretty good start so far with Pero Sparrow on board with a pretty solid hands. Unfortunately, we don't have Pudding, but we do have our ramp and we have a Big Mom, so it can't be that bad. Kikinojo, okay. So now we have to deal with 2 attacks each turn. There's a Katakuri, which should be really, really good here in this matchup. Because often not, he either Gedetsu's it or Ragnarok's. So we'll see. We'll ramp up again. And we'll try to leave him at 2 life for the most part. That way he can't just drop Yamato and heal himself or play Ace and rush me. 6th lead. And then Kikinojo is probably going to swing pretty big. It's 5 down active. So potentially you can play no Gedetsu here, pop Pero, or the Brûlé on board. Yep, there goes that. I don't really mind this one. Another Brûlé. Pretty good. I think blockers here in this matchup really help me out, especially when you keep Enel at 2 life. They're not necessarily tempted to drop down Yamatos to pop a blocker if they're not able to heal themselves, you know? Let's go ahead and do the thing. I think getting down the Big Mom here is probably just the best play. It's just we have to bounce the Gedetsu to the bottom of life and not the Kikinojo. Because Gedetsu kind of loses value the longer the games go on. He can't really pop a lot of things. So, do this heal up. Giving him the Kikinojo just gives him another body on board, which is not something I want to do. Gedetsu gives him at least 1k counter, but it's a body off the board which we shouldn't see back down here. Unless he wants to play it down next turn, popping Pero to give me a search for the Big Mom. You know what I mean? But obviously we're not going to be attacking into him here anytime soon. 6, we'll give you the Flampe. We have the Mom. Katakuri. You're going to heal up? Maybe? Oh, okay. Gee, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Like, that just seems a little silly to me, especially if we had Newgate here in this deck, but this'll do. We'll go 5 again? He'll probably counter this, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's go 9. That tells me a lot. Either he didn't care because he has the passive, or he just didn't have 5k counter. This also might be a safe play for him because he can just drop down a Ace or Yamato, but we'll see. There goes another Katakuri. That's a good sign. Okay, so he heals up with Ace. Ace has Rush. Goes 5k lead. We have to take one of these hits, unfortunately. We need enough counter to protect the Linlin that's on board. He can't swing into it with Katakuri, so we're fine to take this hit. We have to block the Ace hit, though, at the very least. If he attacks the Linlin. Because Katakuri is going to be attacking me here. Oh, okay, Pawsparrow. I could counter out, which might not be a bad play. And we have the 2k counter for the Linlin, but I don't want to give away my Hiyori. That was not very great. I mean, it does allow me to filter a little bit, so guess we'll have to do it like this. Another Pawsparrow. You can get a 9 mom. Okay, there's a 10. I was hoping to see a Katakuri there. That would have been pretty good. Let's do another one. Not that Katakuri, but we got a Katakuri. We'll probably have to force some cards out of hand here. Come on, give me your whole book. You know you don't want this to go to trash. I'm going to run Linlin into this too. If he did, okay, so he is going to counter out. So we're going to hit him with Linlin here. And then I'm going to try to remove it. And if we're not able to, it is what it is. The smart play here would just let the Katakuri go, because we are going to attack into it with Linlin if he decides to protect it again. Wow. Okay. That's really good for us. See you, buddy. Pass the turn. Because you know he's just going to heal up here, right? There's no way he decides to stack Dawn on Ace and go into the Linlins that are on board. So we're safe. I just hope it was better to attack into the Katakuri there instead of the Ace. You know what I mean? I figured he would have had counter to protect the Ace if we ran the 12 into the 10. 8. So he has another Katakuri hitting the board here. Ooh, we'll do that. I forgot about that. This is probably going to come down to one of those games where we have a 0 cost in life. For either party. Katakuri. You want to heal me? That'd be great. Come on, be a good guy. Alright, fair. Thankfully, we do have 10 cost mom to deal with this. But I don't think it's valuable to just drop 10 mom to burn the Kikinojo here. So, it might be better just to run the 10 mom into the Ace to get cards out of hand. If we don't need the mom on board, I think it's better for us to use the 0 cost event in the Hiyori. Because if we play mom, we go to 2, but he still potentially has Katakuri, Ace, and then stack Dawn on an L to go for game. Now he's got 4 attacks, right? So we have to kill the Ace here. And then slap the 0 cost in life. I think that's our only way out of this scenario. Ace does so much for this deck, man. Just so much. Alright. Let's go 14. If he's got it, he's got it. 5k counter. He could have it, honestly. I hope not, but he could. Cool. Alright, guys. I think we're okay. I think we're chilling. Let's take this, put this on life. And do we poke the bear? Is that the correct play here? It might be. Just so we can get him to get rid of cards in hand. It might be the correct play. And hopefully it's not a 0 cost event. Okay. I debated on swinging here instead of just dropping another Pawsparrow on board. 9. I guess we can trigger this right away. We have no other choice anyway. and it really comes down to what this life card is. Because 8, 9, yeah, so he goes 9 and 11. We get a veggie. Sweet. We needed a blocker there, a veggie, or another 0-cost event to get out. I kind of felt it was likely, but at the end of the day, who really knows? Yellow doing yellow things. I still feel like this is a tough matchup to deal with, but he did see 2 Katakuris that allowed him to heal up or remove something on board, which kind of sucked. Took down some of my momentum by removing my 6-drop Katakuris. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, rapid fire. In any case, that Enel, unfortunately, I still think it's going to be a tough matchup. It's not like Katakuri into Enel in OP08 where we can just like have a ridiculous amount of triggers. Katakuri is definitely going to be favored here in OP08, I think, into the Enel more so. But with the pudding, we don't have a lot of triggers that we can rely on to get bodies on board. So we're not flooding board with a lot of bodies, we're flooding board with giant bodies, essentially. We still have less attacks than a Katakuri would. So I think pudding's not going to have as easy as a matchup as people think. But more playtesting is definitely needed, but we'll see. We'll get around it. Either way, we're going to go ahead and play this matchup with the mirror, in which I think you're going to see a lot at your locals. I think pudding's going to be one of the decks that people are going to gravitate towards because 10-drop mom. But at the end of the day, this is probably going to be a very, very strong leader going into OP08 without the RP law. So you're going to have to know how to play this matchup. And this is specifically one of the matchups why I'm teching the 2-cost Katakuri into it. Regardless if I win or lose the dice roll, I always have an opportunity of being ahead of the pudding or on the same Dawn ramp curve as pudding with the 2-drop Katakuri. Regardless if I go first or second. But in this scenario, we have a lot of triggers in hand. So we did get unlucky here with our draws. 2 veggies, 2 0-cost events, and a brulee. Not looking good. 7 here as well. This is going to force me to do this early game, which does suck. I don't really want to take this damage here, because they're going to ramp up next turn anyway. Yeah, they'll be at 10 with the big mom. Another brulee. Let's see if we can... Let's see if we can burn the Katakuri first. Okay. So I want to get rid of the veggie if possible. Okay, nice. Let's get rid of the pudding here. Because they're not really going to attack into our Katakuri. They're going to probably drop 10 mom. To heal up. Rip my life. Go 5 to face. We have the counter for that. And next turn we could potentially go for game. Oh, they're going for the Paro. No pudding. Or sorry, no big mom. Which is unfortunate. But maybe we can draw into a Katakuri here with the pudding or a 10-drop mom. Or 9-cost mom. There's a 10. It's probably better just to play the 10 down. Let's go 7. Okay, let's put her on 0. Put her on 1 instead. Forgot about the Viola, that's my bad. It'd be a big gamble if we dropped the pudding. Like a really, really big gamble. Let's try it. Hey, we got one. Katakuri can replace... Doesn't necessarily matter. We can heal up with Katakuri here, have the body on board. I get it, my opponent stays at 2 life, we don't get to do the damage. But, we actually can poker. We need to leave up 3 Dawn for the Brulee blocker. Because I want this on board. So let's get her down. This way Katakuri can replace the Katakuri, put the Brulee back on life. And I think we're chilling. Because this way we'll do a damage, get a body on board as well. Use the ability. I feel this is so good. Heal a life. Look at that. So now if she wants the Big Mom here, she can, to burn the Brûlée. And then go 5 and 12. Which we can protect. Doing it the other way doesn't necessarily matter either. We still do a damage to have a Mom on board. But this way, if she doesn't have the 10 Mom, and Brûlée gets to come down, we have the blocker up. I guess either would have worked here, but this is still pretty nice. Okay, so there's that. 2 10 Moms. No problem. No problem. We have to guard this swing, otherwise we lose. So, yep. She chose not to attack there, which is kind of weird. We don't need the Pawseplay's to go for game, so. We know her hand's low on counter. This should land anyway. Yep. They get a 2K. Burn the life, and a good game. Well played. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we'll probably play one more game after this one, and then we'll dive back into the deck list. This is going to be a very, very tough matchup, and I wanted to showcase at least one Bonnie game that we could find here. I was looking for Black Yellow Luffy players, because that is another challenging one. You might not think so, but you have to see your moms, and if you're not able to get your ramp up, the ramp doesn't necessarily matter too much necessarily, but if you don't see your moms, you kind of lose the game. Which, in this deck, we have numerous ways of searching, so the matchup is kind of in our favor overall, but Black Yellow Luffy is going to be one of the best decks in the format, so you still have to figure out how to play around it. In any case, Jewelry Bonnie, this is a whole nother animal. This deck sucks to play into. This deck just is very strong overall. And I think a lot of people are going to be hyped up into some of these new leaders and some of the older leaders that come back into the format. And hopefully Bonnie doesn't get too much play. But this leader is very difficult to play into as Pudding. Unlike Katakuri, where we can sit here and just spam bodies off of life and pop bodies on board with our triggers, Pudding doesn't necessarily... we don't utilize that all too much. We're playing some of our telegraph plays into our 6-drop Katakuri, which happens pretty much all the time. Therefore, that 6 Dawn, that she knows exactly what we're doing. We don't have the Onamis off life, we don't have the Namis off life, the Hioris. So it's less... I think this matchup is less threatening towards Bonnie. It's just they have to deal with the 10 Mom. I could be reading wrong, but after playing this matchup numerous times, this is what I've come into. Cool. So it seems like, at the very least, one or two of my bodies are going to be permanently rested if we allow to keep this carrot on board. And I know we heal her, but we have to remove the carrot, otherwise Bonnie will just rest A or B when I attack, and then when she attacks with carrot, she rests the other one. So, which is pretty good. I do have a new Bonnie list that's coming up, and it seems like you guys decided not to vote for her on the poll here. You're a little bit more interested in King. So, King is going to come up after Pudding. I'm going to have to do a lot of play testing. I only have theory crafts done for King right now, which is unfortunate, but I play against numerous different builds. I think we all have, and we want the list to work. I think he's a little bit clunky, but I'm going to try my best. I think I have some ideas. But overall, let's get back up to this matchup, try to see if we can deal with Basil Hawkins here. Cool. I'm not necessarily worried about the Doflamingo. I don't really care about the lockdown here. I just want to get some 5s in. If she wants to remove Pawseplay's or attack into them next turn, feel free. It's another Cavendish, which is great. Or a Cavendish, which is great. Baby 5. I'm assuming she has Dofi. That's 2 baby 5s, actually. One from hand and then one from life. Our board state's looking really, really good. It's just the sheer amount of cards that Bonnie has in hand. And that's simply because we can't get her to pitch them. Because she's resting our units. Really makes this a bad matchup sometimes, I think. There's a Kata. This would be pretty good here, actually. Because if they want to drop a Eustace Kid, we have the out for it. Sure. If not, we have to give the 0 cost in the Viola. I don't think that's worth. We get a 2k off that. Okay, so they're using structure deck stuff. Fair. Alright. That is another card in which you will see an upcoming bonding list here on the channel. I think Shanks is going to be disgusting. Just overall. And Uta and Bonnie, in any green deck that you can slap this man in, you might as well utilize him. He's very, very good. 10 cost Mom is no problem, Kaido is no problem, Newgate's no problem. You just play down Shanks and you're killing things. Eustace Kid is irrelevant. You slap down Shanks, obviously. I'm sure you guys have seen it. If you haven't, Kid's having a rough time right now. But it is what it is. We're up to 10. Unfortunately, I want a Katakuri here. Now we could... we could just attack into the Basil Hawkins. Let's do that instead. This might seem like a mistake later. It might be a mistake later, but let's go 12 here. Cool. Let's go down to Pero. She knows we have the Katakuri. And I thought if we played the Katakuri there just to bounce back, you know, Kata on life, the 7-drop here, or a 6-drop on life, we missed the opportunity of using Katakuri on Eustace Kid. Because I'd imagine, if so, she would have used it to get rid of the Big Mom. Fair. Cavendish and Bonnie. They freeze the 10-drop Limlin, which is still pretty scary. And then she could just rest another attacker that we have on board. We play Kata first, so rest Katakuri. Here it doesn't necessarily matter. I'd imagine it would be Pawseplays. Yep. 5k counter? Really? Yeah, we'll take those. We'll take those. That's 3 baby 5s you've seen. 5 lead. Just take it. Another 2k. Looking good, boys. Looking good. We'll heal up. This has to go on life. Doesn't necessarily matter where. Better suited for top, obviously, but this gives us another Pawseplays. 7 here. I could counter this, but I think I'd rather have the 0 cost event in case she does put me to 1 life with the Hiyori. And regardless if I counter that out there, I don't have enough counters to deal with the Cavendish and the Jewelry Bonnie that run into it. What are you playing? Do you have another Shanks? I really hope not. Now might be the time for Dofi if she has that in hand. Another Shanks. This match is looking pretty bad now, to be honest. We've got a searchable event here. Not really much we can do with it. We could run Katakuri into Shanks and remove that. Then she just attacks me 4 times next turn. Which takes me to 0 life, because I'd lose. I mean, we get the 10 Mom, though. I think the 10 here is probably the better play, but maybe the 9 we can slap down on board and heal a life, not remove anything on her field. Or we can bounce back the Cavendish to life. Because I can't play this right now. But this will help us sustain, which is good. Let's take this one. Let's do 8k. They are going to clear Katakuri next turn. There's no question about that. We need something to replace the body with here. Gain to life. Unfortunately, we had to get rid of one of our 2k counters, which does suck. But it is what it is. Now Bonnie is on a clock. If she does not have a blocker, she loses. Yep. Countering out here won't really help me out too much because they'll just run the other Shanks into it. Now we need a Brûlé or Pawseplays here off of life. We know we have a Pawsprays coming up, but gaining more triggers would be a benefit to me here. Because we just need one extra attacker that has to go over a blocker. So she can only rest one of us. Nice. She does have a blocker. 6. There's a Brulee. We'll take those. Super lucky today. Now, do you want to give me the other one, or do we just double up? If she doesn't have a blocker, we win the game. Because she can only rest one, so I'd imagine she'd rest our leader, because we're attacking with Lin first, right? And then the rest of the Dawn, we can just stick on Brulee and go for game. That might be risky. Honestly, that might be a really risky play, to be fair. But she gave me a lot of counter earlier, so it's a possibility she doesn't have enough, if that's the route we want to take. Okay, so she's going to play it super safe. Now we're in trouble. We're kind of in big trouble, actually. We need to see a big body on board. Because once I attack with Lin, it's gonna be over. So I think once we attack with Lin here, it's gonna be over at this point. And now we go 12 with Pudding. She can't rest a unit because she didn't have any Dawn up, so now we can go 12 here with Pudding. And get the other Basil Hawkins out of the game. And there's no reason to attack in the Shanks, so we have to go face. Okay. Hody won't let her win here. Dofi will not let her win here. I think this match is done. Regardless of how you look at it. She'll clear this with the other Shanks. Yeah, she'll clear this with the other Shanks. Because this only goes up to... We can counter out of this with a 0 cost event. But we don't have enough counter to deal with the other Shanks that smacks into me. It's 1, 2, 3. That's 3 blockers that we've seen. No Mad Monk or Uroge here. This could have went differently if she drew into that earlier. Maybe. It might have went differently. I think this match would have been a little bit more in our favor if she did have the other blocker on board at the time. Because she would have had less attackers, you know what I mean? I don't really mind, because we can play Pawsprays here. She's got 8 left. But Pawsprays we can use as a 0 cost event. So we'll save him. Hody Jones maybe? Rest our Brulee. Then she's got 3 more attacks, but she still can't get through us. Give you the 2. Goes back up to 10. What you got? 2 Hody Jones, 5k counter. Wow. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this will be our last game of the day, in which we'll dive back into the deck list. I do hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was a lot of fun for me, let alone one of my favorite leaders going into OP08. Now, in our previous match, we played into the Jewelry Bonnie. I wanted to showcase at least a Bonnie if we could find one today. And I do think we did well. I think the downside of that matchup is it's going to be a lot harder once she gains access to the structure decks. Now, mind you, we're not using any structure decks cards in our list, so we have the potential of using the 6-Mom, which is really, really good here for decks like Bonnie and Enel, because we can rip cards from their hand. So it should turn out a little bit differently. But allowing Bonnie and Uta access to the new 9-drop Shanks, it makes the matchup so much harder, considering the fact that he just kill our 10-Mom. You know what I mean? And I think in that particular game, if she didn't have the Shanks, it would have been less stressful on me, or on you as the player who is playing into that. So, but overall, we're going to dive into Katakuri here. And this is going to be a tough matchup going into OP08 as well, depending on how the Katakuri builds the deck. Katakuri, unlike Pudding, has access to a ridiculous amount of triggers that come off of life. But I think Katakuri gets really, really good when the structure deck comes out. So, we'll see. I've put out a bunch of different lists here with Kata that utilize a lot of triggers. 32, and you can make them have more. But Pudding struggles dealing with Board Swarm, so things like Blue Doflamingo can be a problem. Can be a problem. But I think we can get around that, especially with the 10-drop Mom. But Zoro can be an issue. Decks that go wide very, very quickly can overwhelm Pudding. So we need to counter out of this one as well, I think. But no, actually, no, we don't. No, we don't. Taking this hit gives us a Brûlée, which allows us to put the Katakuri back on board. But we can save it for later. Goes 4. Now we actually have to do something about it, though. I don't want to give the 0 cost event here. We're at 8. 5, 6, 7. He's at 7, right? 6. Okay, so he goes to 8 next turn. Which, potentially, we clear these. That's going to be a no-brainer. We clear the Pudding. And then it comes down to the triggers here. Let's go 5 lead. I don't have to attack with my 6-drop Katakuri first because he can't pop it with anything he gets from life here. He could put a Capone or Veggie on it if he wants to, but instead of going 5 with leader first, I wanted to go 5 with Pero just in case they pop the Pero, and then we can't get the attack off. And I feel like attack coordination really matters in this matchup and how you do it, just because of the amount of triggers that Katakuri runs. Speaking of which, there's a Flame Split, so we have no blocker for next turn. He took the 5. He gave me a 0 cost event for the 7, which is really strong here for us. We can bottom deck the Pero Sparrow. Usually I wouldn't do this, but in this situation, this takes the possibility of a 0 cost being under bottom of life. It takes away the Veggie as well. And now he's at 8 Dawn. So next turn, we could play down 2 Katakuris in a single go, because we can drop down the 2 cost, right? And then we can play down a hard cost, or hard cast of the 8 to bounce Brûlée back to life. Okay, never mind about the Brûlée. My bad, my bad. I was just kidding. Goes 8. Yeah, this is fine. I just don't remember what this is. I don't think we actually got to see it. We get a Sanji 2K. No Katakuri for him. Let's go 5 first. Hopefully he can't pop this. I need at least to have something to bounce back up to life that gives us some sort of value here. Pudding, we get another search, and then Pero Sparrow, we get another body on board. Take the hit, counter out, cool. Let's go 5 again. 2 cards left. 7. Okay. I think we can get through with the 9 here. Nice. Okay, so let's do the thing. Yep. This way, in case he has 10-drop Mom, I'd rather put the Pudding on top first, and then if he attacks into me, we get a Pero Sparrow on board. We get... That's 16... 16... No, that's 18 worth of Dawn right there. It's really freaking cool, man. It's 5 lead. Like, he does exactly what I wanted him to do, too. That's crazy. 5 here. It's probably better for us not to take this hit, right? I think regardless if we do it, we already know we can go for game. So. 0 cost. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it. Do you have another Veggie on life here? Did Big Mom help you out? I don't think it matters if you had a Veggie or not, because he still has to deal with... Yeah, okay, we win. Cool. Good game, homie. It was a lot of fun, man. I think this matchup always comes down to the triggers, but it's a lot easier to deal with Katakuri than it is, unfortunately, Enel. As Pudding. I think as Katakuri into Enel, you have a much better time due to the fact that you guys can spam bodies on board. Pudding kind of slow plays it with the big bodies, which you can just Raigo occasionally, you know? But So far, so good. Well played. I'll see you next time. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the end of the video in which we're going to go over the deck list here, talk about a couple changes, and what's going to happen here in the future. Now, when it comes to Charlotte Pudding, this is going to be one of my favorite leaders in OP08. Therefore, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this leader. I'm going to build different variations of this list, of the deck, and I think you're going to see Pudding a lot at your locals. I've already played a bunch of different Pudding variations here, and this is one of my favorite ones that I've come up with. Again, you've seen the usual Pudding, right? The usual Pudding list, minus Miss All Sunday. You guys have seen the usual. It looks something like this. And I like this list. It works out. It does well. 10 cost Ace is really, really strong here in this deck, but I think everybody knows about this card now, which is fine, right? You're going to slap Pudding in, or sorry, you're going to slap Ace in, do the Enel stuff, and hopefully you survive. Great. The downside to this is you're running with 4, 8, 12 already in itself that have 0 counter, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't really like this card here in this list anyway, because typically I'm a little bit healthy with the moms, right? Me personally. Now, there are times where you can slap down Ace, you can get a rush off, you can heal up, you can do the thing. And this list does really well, obviously. I just didn't want to run the same exact Pudding list that you've seen over and over and over again that everybody else and their brother is doing. You guys know me. So I came up with another build, such as no one's utilizing Katakuri. And I feel like this card is really, really good into the Pudding matchup. When she wins the die roll and she goes first, you have the Katakuri to keep up with her to slap down the 6-drop or the 8 cost on curve, which is really, really good. Now, there are opportune moments where you have 2 Katakuris in hand, and you're on your Tendon turn. You can go 7 to face if you want to with this. Attack everything with board, drop down this Katakuri. Or sorry, 5 to face. Drop down this Katakuri. Right, now you have 8 Don left. You can hard play one of these, heal up, or remove something on board. Activate this ability to play another one of these for free. That's 2 bodies that you have the 2 opportunities of healing yourself or removing things on board. Which is really, really good. But overall, I've had a lot of fun with this list. I do think some adjustments might be needed. I might be going down to Hiyori's just to increase my Katakuri pool. And if that's the case, it's fine. I want to be able to see this. The 9 cost mom, I leave them generally at 2 to 3. Most of my lists run anywhere from 3 to 4. But I think 2 is really, really nice to see as well. I think 3 guarantees you to see at least 1 in a game. And you got to keep in mind, with all the searching that we have in the deck, with the Pudding, with the 1-drop event, with the Perilous Sparrow, you're going to find a Big Mom. There are going to be those occasions where you don't see Big Mom until later. It happens, very unlucky. But we have a lot of ways of searching this out. The same way with your Katakuris here. Your mom is more valuable to me in matchups like Jewelry Bonnie and Black Yellow Luffy. Being able to remove like small blockers or Carrot from the field is really, really good, considering the fact that Carrot can freeze this permanently. You know what I mean? But Mom and herself really helps out in Black Yellow Luffy as well, because we can put the Sabos to top of life, attack into them, put the Sabos in the deck instead of the trash. It's pretty strong. But I'm thinking about going down to Hiyori to increase my Katakuri pool, just so I have opportune moments to play this more often. But let me know what your thoughts and your opinions are on this list, what you guys think about it. Are you going to try it out? Do you have any ideas you want me to do with Pudding? Let me know what you're cooking up. How about your fellow community down in the comments below? And hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck at pre-releases. And we'll catch you guys in the very next video, in which it looks like we're going to be doing King. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to try my best. Don't hold me to it. I'll see y'all later. I'm going to head out.